Welcome to Money is Freedom, a podcast exploring how finance and freedom connect in our lives. Created from thoughtful research and narrated by Notebooklm AI, this series brings you clear, meaningful insights into finance and beyond. In this episode, we dive into Bitcoin's historic $100,000 milestone and its implications for the crypto market in 2025. Key topics include Bitcoin's cyclical patterns, potential January corrections, Ethereum's growing dominance, and the role of Federal Reserve policies like QE on altcoins. We also discuss how political tailwinds and mainstream adoption are reshaping the future of digital assets. Tune in for insights on what's next in this transformative year for crypto.
Okay, so Bitcoin,
Yeah,
it smashed through that $100,000 ceiling.
definitely.
I mean, is that the biggest crypto headline of the year?
It's got to be up there.
I mean, we knew it had potential, but
Oh, yeah.
hitting this milestone,
Oh, huge.
it feels like we're like entering a whole new era.
It is a landmark moment.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Right.
When Bitcoin was just like this weird internet experiment,
Yeah.
now it's commanding six-figure prices.
Totally.
It's attracting attention from like Wall Street to Washington.
It's wild. So to kind of unpack what this all means,
Yeah.
we've got this Medium article from Chaos of Money.
Okay.
They're a crypto VC who's always got their finger on the pulse.
Right.
And they call this crypto's turning point, what Bitcoin's $100K milestone means for 2025.
Nice.
So they're digging into those fascinating Bitcoin price cycles,
Yeah.
how President Trump's policies might be playing a role.
Okay.
And of course, what this means for Ethereum
Right.
and the rest of the altcoin universe.
Right. Chaos of Money always brings up some interesting points. I'm
Yes.
curious to hear their take on this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so the article kicks off by talking about Bitcoin's journey to this crazy price level.
Yeah.
And they point out how Bitcoin's price has always moved in these distinct cycles, driven by those halving events and investor sentiment.
Yeah.
And this recent surge fits right in with those historical patterns.
It does, but here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
This cycle,
Yeah.
it isn't just driven by the usual crypto enthusiasts.
Okay.
The article highlights the launch of that Bitcoin ETF back in January,
Right.
which basically opened the floodgates for institutional money to pour into the market.
Okay.
Think pension funds,
Wow.
hedge funds,
Yeah.
even university endowments.
Really.
They're all getting in on the action.
So it's not just about
Tech geeks.
an early adopters anymore.
No.
We've got these big institutional players
Absolutely.
at the table now.
At the table.
And that's got to be having a major impact.
Oh, yeah. It's bringing a new level of legitimacy
Right.
and stability to the market,
Okay.
but it also makes it more susceptible
Yeah.
to the whims
It's
of these institutional investors.
I see.
They have different motivations and strategies compared to your typical retail investor.
Right.
So it's adding a whole new layer of complexity.
Yeah, like what happens if one of those giant pension funds just decides to pull out?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, could that trigger like a massive sell-off?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
That's why understanding these institutional flows is crucial
Right.
for anyone looking to navigate the crypto market.
For sure. Okay, so we've got these big money players entering the scene,
Yeah.
but the article also links the recent crypto boom to the political climate,
Yeah.
specifically to President Trump and his pro-crypto stance.
Okay.
Is that something you take seriously?
Well, a crypto-friendly administration
Right.
can definitely create a more favorable environment.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
Clear regulations, government support,
Yeah.
even whispers of a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve,
Wow.
like the article mentions,
Yeah.
could significantly impact investor confidence.
The U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve.
Yeah,
That's a wild thought.
it is pretty wild.
But even without going that far,
Right.
just having a government that's not actively trying to shut down the industry,
Exactly.
I mean, that can make a huge difference.
Regulatory clarity is essential for any emerging market,
Right.
and crypto is no different.
For sure.
It removes a lot of the uncertainty and risk
Yeah.
that keeps institutional investors on the sidelines.
Okay.
It's like paving the way for wider adoption.
So a pro-crypto president could actually boost the market.
They definitely could.
That's an interesting angle.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and look ahead to 2025.
Okay.
The article dives into Bitcoin's past performance, pointing out this trend of major run-ups
Yeah.
in November and December during halving years, followed by pullbacks in January.
Right.
Are we headed for a repeat performance?
Well, if history is any guide,
Right.
and the article seems to suggest it is, then a correction in early 2025 wouldn't be surprising.
Okay.
We've got the inauguration coming up,
Right.
plus the Bitcoin ETF's 1-year anniversary,
Right.
both in January.
Yeah.
Those events could trigger some profit taking,
Okay.
especially from those institutional investors we were talking about earlier.
So we might see a dip,
Maybe.
but it's not necessarily a reason to panic.
No.
More like a chance to maybe buy the dip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Short-term fluctuations are normal.
Right.
Especially after such a massive price surge.
Right.
Savvy investors often see these dips as opportunities.
I see. Okay, so Bitcoin might have a bumpy ride ahead,
It might.
but the article seems to suggest the overall outlook
Yes.
is still pretty bullish.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Okay, but what about the rest of the crypto world? The article focuses on Ethereum
Right.
as a potential winner as Bitcoin consolidates.
Okay.
What's the thinking there?
Well, this gets into the fascinating concept of altcoin rotation.
Okay.
Imagine capital flowing out of Bitcoin and into other cryptocurrencies
Right.
as Bitcoin's dominance declines,
Okay.
which it's been doing recently, according to the article.
Okay.
It creates space for altcoins to flourish,
Right.
and Ethereum, with its strong fundamentals and growing ecosystem,
Okay.
is well positioned to benefit from this shift.
So while Bitcoin takes a breather, Ethereum might be the one to watch.
It's possible.
Maybe even steal the show in 2025.
Maybe.
Tell me more about this altcoin rotation thing.
Okay.
It sounds intriguing,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure I fully grasp it.
Imagine it like this.
Okay.
You've got a portfolio of crypto assets.
Right.
And Bitcoin is the big dominant player,
Yeah.
taking up most of the space.
Okay.
But as Bitcoin's price stabilizes,
Yeah.
or maybe even dips a little, investors start looking for other opportunities
Right.
to make those big gains.
Makes sense.
They start shifting their capital out of Bitcoin and into altcoins,
I see.
hoping to catch the next wave.
So it's like a game of musical chairs,
Yeah,
with investors jumping from one crypto to another, chasing those potential profits.
that's a great analogy.
All right.
And the article even points out that the ETH-BTC pair
Right.
seems to be bottoming out, which
Yeah.
further supports this idea of Ethereum
Okay.
potentially outperforming Bitcoin
Yeah.
in the coming year.
Okay, so we've got Bitcoin possibly taking a back seat,
Yeah,
Ethereum potentially stepping into the spotlight.
right.
But the article also brings up another factor,
Yeah,
macroeconomic trends,
okay.
things like unemployment rates and the Federal Reserve's policies. How do those things even play into the crypto market?
Well, the overall economic climate always impacts investor behavior.
Oh.
Remember quantitative easing, or
Right.
QE,
Yeah.
when the Fed pumps money into the economy?
To stimulate growth.
Right.
Well, looser monetary policies like that
Yeah.
often benefit risk-on assets,
Okay.
like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Okay.
And the article specifically mentions that Ethereum and altcoins
Right.
tend to be even more sensitive to QE than Bitcoin.
Hold on, you're losing me a bit.
Okay.
Why would altcoins be more sensitive to QE than Bitcoin?
Right.
Wouldn't more money in the system benefit all cryptocurrencies?
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Imagine this.
Okay.
When the Fed injects money into the economy, it often flows into riskier assets first.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
If you're a big investor
Right.
with a lot of cash on hand
Yeah.
and interest rates are low,
Yeah.
you're more likely to take a gamble on something with higher potential returns, right?
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So altcoins, being generally riskier than Bitcoin,
Yeah.
might attract a larger share of that freshly printed money.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the article backs this up.
Yeah. By pointing out the recent surges in altcoins,
Okay.
like XRP, ADA, and SOL,
Right.
as evidence that this dynamic is already playing out.
Wow. So we've got Bitcoin hitting $100 K, a
Yeah.
potential shift towards altcoins, especially Ethereum.
It's possible.
And now we have to factor in the Fed's actions
Yeah.
and the broader economic picture.
Uh-huh.
It's like trying to solve a giant puzzle
Yeah.
with a bunch of missing pieces.
It definitely keeps things interesting.
It really does. Speaking of interesting,
Yeah.
the article also mentions the return of retail investors.
Right.
Those everyday folks like you and me
Right.
were getting back into the crypto game.
Yeah.
Does that change anything?
Ah, yes. The fuel for the alt season fire.
Okay.
Remember those wild days back in the previous bull market?
Oh, yeah?
Retail investors pouring into altcoins, driving prices through the roof.
It was crazy.
It could be happening again.
So this retail enthusiasm, combined with Bitcoin's potential consolidation and all those macroeconomic factors could create the perfect storm for altcoins to take off.
It's definitely a possibility.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Bitcoin's price surge.
Yeah.
The role of institutional investors. Well, President Trump's influence.
Yeah.
The potential for a market correction.
Yeah.
The concept of altcoin rotation.
Yep.
And now the return of retail investors.
Yes.
And those tricky macroeconomic factors. It's a lot to digest.
It is. It highlights the complexity of the crypto market.
Yeah, I feel like we've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten to the broader implications of all of this.
Right.
What does it all mean for the future of finance, for technology, for society as a whole?
Those are the big questions.
Yeah.
And they're exactly what we'll be exploring further
in
the second part of this deep dive.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and break down all the key takeaways and what they mean for you, our listeners.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Right.
All right, so we just explored a ton of factors swirling around Bitcoin's epic climb to $100,000.
Yeah.
Before we get too lost in the weeds, what are the biggest takeaways for our listeners so far?
Well, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
Definitely.
I think the most important thing to remember is that Bitcoin hitting this price level is a major signal.
Okay.
You know, it's not just about the number itself. It shows us how much crypto has matured as an asset class.
Yeah, we talked about those institutional investors jumping in the potential for regulatory clarity with a pro-crypto administration.
Exactly.
It feels like the whole landscape is shifting.
It is, and those shifts create opportunities, but also new challenges.
Okay.
The article highlights those historical patterns of Bitcoin's price cycles.
Yeah.
So we have to be prepared for potential corrections, especially as we head into 2025 with those key events like the inauguration and the Bitcoin ETF anniversary.
Right, those January jitters.
Exactly.
But even if there's a dip, the article seems pretty optimistic about the long-term outlook for crypto, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
The overall trends are pointing towards continued growth, wider adoption, more institutional interest, and a potentially friendlier regulatory environment, especially here in the U.S.
Okay, so that's reassuring.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking about something you said earlier.
Yeah.
Even if the overall market is doing well, individual investors still need to be cautious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is still a volatile market and things can change quickly.
Okay.
It's crucial to do your own research, understand the risks, and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Diversification is key.
Okay.
Especially when you consider the sheer number of altcoins out there.
Right.
Each with its own potential and its own risks.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
This article focuses a lot on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there's a whole universe of other cryptocurrencies out there.
There is, and that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Remember that concept of altcoin rotation we were talking about?
Yeah.
As Bitcoin consolidates capital, might start flowing into these other altcoins.
Okay.
And that's where understanding those macroeconomic factors comes in, like quantitative easing and how it might disproportionately impact certain types of altcoins.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around that whole QE thing.
Yeah.
It's like a ripple effect, right?
Is
the Fed pumps money into the economy, and some of that ends up flowing into riskier assets.
All right.
Potentially boosting those altcoin prices.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
And remember, the article highlights how Ethereum and other altcoins tend to be more sensitive to these monetary policies than Bitcoin.
Right.
It's a dynamic that savvy investors are watching closely.
So if someone is looking for those big gains, maybe they should be paying more attention to the altcoin market.
It's certainly a possibility, but it's crucial to remember that with higher potential rewards, often come higher risks.
Okay, risk and reward.
Exactly.
Two sides of the same coin, so to speak.
Literally.
Speaking of Ethereum, the article seems particularly bullish on its prospects, especially as Bitcoin potentially enters this consolidation phase.
Okay.
Why is that?
Well, Ethereum has been quietly building a remarkable ecosystem.
Okay.
You know, it's not just a cryptocurrency.
Right.
It's a platform for decentralized applications.
Okay.
From DeFi to NFTs.
Yeah.
And it's constantly evolving.
So it's got that utility factor going for it, right?
You done well.
It's not just a store of value like Bitcoin.
Right.
It's a platform for building the future of finance and technology.
Exactly. And that's why so many people are excited about its potential.
Right.
Remember we talked about altcoin rotation?
Yeah.
Well, if investors are looking for the next big thing, Ethereum, with its strong fundamentals and growing ecosystem, is well positioned to capture that attention.
The article even pointed out that the ETH-BTC pair is bottoming out, suggesting that Ethereum might outperform Bitcoin in the coming year.
It's a fascinating possibility, and it highlights how the crypto market is constantly evolving.
For sure.
What was once a Bitcoin-dominated landscape is now becoming much more diverse and dynamic.
Okay, so we've got Bitcoin at $100,000.
Yeah.
The potential for both corrections and continued growth.
Right.
The possibility of altcoins stealing the show.
Possibly.
And the looming influence of macroeconomic factors.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It really is. And we haven't even touched on the broader implications of all this.
Yeah, that's true.
What does this mean for the future of finance?
Right.
How will governments around the world react to this growing crypto ecosystem?
Those are the billion-dollar questions.
They really are, and the article hints at some potential answers, particularly when it comes to President Trump's pro-crypto stance and the possibility of a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Yeah, it's a wild idea.
That's something I'm still trying to wrap my head around, a country holding Bitcoin as part of its strategic reserves.
Yeah.
Sounds like something out of a science fiction novel.
It might have seemed far-fetched a few years ago.
Right.
But now it's a real possibility.
Wow.
And it highlights the potential for crypto to disrupt not just finance, but also geopolitics.
Okay, so we've got a lot to unpack here.
We do.
The article focused mainly on the U.S. perspective. But what about the rest of the world?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Remember, crypto is a global phenomenon.
Right.
What happens in China, India, Europe, those actions could have a ripple effect on the entire market.
Think about those central bank digital currencies.
Right, CBDCs.
That some countries are developing. How will those interact with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, it's like a giant chess game.
Wow.
With multiple players making moves that can impact the entire board. Understanding those global dynamics is essential if we want to truly grasp the potential and the complexities of the crypto market.
It's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
It can be.
So much is happening so quickly.
Yeah.
But I guess that's also what makes it so exciting.
Absolutely. The crypto world is constantly evolving.
Right.
With new innovations and challenges emerging all the time.
Yeah.
It's a constant source of fascination and inspiration.
Okay, so we've explored the current state of the crypto market.
Yeah.
The potential for 2025 and beyond.
Right.
And even touched on those broader geopolitical implications.
We did.
But I still feel like we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's so much more to uncover, so much more to learn.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it?
It is.
There's always something new to discover in the world of crypto.
Right.
And as we wrap up this second part of our deep dive,
I
want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
If Bitcoin hitting $100,000 is a turning point,
right,
what might be the next major milestone that reshapes the crypto landscape?
Okay.
What event or innovation will push this technology even further into the mainstream?
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
And one we can all explore together as this incredible crypto journey continues.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in just a moment for the final part of our deep dive to discuss the potential social implications of crypto.
Okay.
And what it all means for our listeners. Okay, so we've talked about price predictions and potential market shifts and even the global power plays surrounding crypto.
Yeah.
But here's something that I think really gets me thinking. What does all this mean for everyday people?
Yeah, that's the core of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond the charts and the headlines.
Right.
Crypto has the potential to impact our lives in profound ways.
Totally.
Think about the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
Few people could predicted how it would transform communication, commerce.
Right.
Even the way we think.
Right.
Crypto could have a similar impact on finance and beyond.
It's almost like we're standing on the edge of a new frontier.
It is.
Full of possibilities, but also uncertainties.
Exactly. And just like with the internet, there will be challenges and risks along the way.
Right.
But the potential benefits are enormous.
Yeah, the article touches on this idea of crypto empowering individuals, creating a more decentralized and accessible financial system.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Imagine a world where you don't need a bank to send money across borders.
Okay.
Where you have full control over your own financial data.
Okay.
Where you can access financial services that were previously unavailable to you.
Okay.
That's the promise of decentralized finance, or DeFi, which is built on blockchain technology, the same technology that powers cryptocurrencies.
So it's not just about Bitcoin going up in value. It's about creating a whole new financial system that's more inclusive and equitable.
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Crypto has the potential to level the playing field, giving people in developing countries access to financial services that were previously out of reach.
Okay.
It could also empower individuals to take control of their own financial destinies, bypassing traditional gatekeepers like banks and financial institutions.
That sounds incredibly empowering.
It is.
But also a bit daunting.
It can be.
If we're talking about reshaping the entire financial system, there are bound to be some bumps along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're still in the early stages of this technological revolution. There will be challenges, there will be setbacks, and there will be bad actors trying to exploit the system. But that's true of any disruptive innovation.
So what can we do as individuals to navigate this new landscape?
Yeah.
How do we separate the hype from the reality, the opportunities from the risks?
It all starts with education.
Okay.
The more you understand about crypto, the blockchain technology that underpins it, and the potential applications, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions.
That makes sense. But there's so much information out there.
Oh, yeah.
So much noise.
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Start with reputable sources.
Okay.
Like industry publications, research reports, and educational platforms.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Join online communities. And connect with other people who are exploring this space.
So it's about being curious. Staying informed and not being afraid to dive in and learn.
Exactly. The crypto world can seem intimidating at first. But the more you explore it, the more fascinating and rewarding it becomes. It's like unlocking a whole new level of understanding about finance technology and even the way our world works.
You know, it's funny. We started this deep dive talking about Bitcoin hitting $100,000. Which seemed like such a huge deal at the time. But now, after exploring all these other aspects of crypto, the price almost feels secondary.
Yeah. It's a reminder that crypto is about so much more than just making money. It's about innovation. It's about empowerment. And it's about building a future that's more inclusive and accessible for everyone.
Sounds like a social movement, isn't it?
It is.
A collective push towards a more decentralized and democratic future.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And like any social movement, it requires active participation, critical thinking, and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of crypto, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
Crypto is not just about technology or finance, it's about people. It's about the potential to empower individuals, create new opportunities, and build a more equitable future. And that's something worth getting excited about.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of crypto.
My pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future of finance is in our hands.